Michaela Folks. I live in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I've been working with the body now for over 2 decades, almost three. So massage therapy was my initial discipline, kettlebells, learning about cellular nutrition, and then understanding about fat burning and helping people with weight loss. And so my whole interest really with the body um, is has been both to not feel a sense of limitation and then conversely to feel a sense of freedom. And so we're here to talk about weight loss, which is my number one point of interest. I think this approach and ability is just so liberating. It's so exciting. Um, and the only reason why I know about this is because of my own issues with emotional eating. So um what I know was from my own need, really. So I was the person that, you know, tried every diet under the sun, every type of workout, to kind of try to outpace really my like out of control eating. And so what I figured out through all this self experiment was that fat burning, that was an option. You could burn fat or you could burn sugar, like most of the planet. And that it was just better. It was just more forgiving. It felt easier. And it literally kind of changed everything. I wasn't in a state of compromised health, but it does improve health. It does improve mood. I suddenly felt calmer and confident. And so, anyway, my position and understanding with the body is always one of logic. Like there is a cause and effect. We're just not this mysterious pile of flesh and fluids. Like there is order here. And so the more that we understand, the more that we can have what we want. I help women over 40 lose 8 to 15 pounds in a month by going through a mitochondrial reconstruction. And what that means is we help to rebuild, create new, repair the energy producing unit of our cell. And we're made to burn fat, but most of us have kind of dumbed it down to only be able to burn sugar well and to be really good at storing fat and not so great at using it later. So the naturalness of fat burning is something that we're all meant to do. If we couldn't as a species, we would have perished, because we're not hummingbirds that need to eat constantly. We need to, our species has needed to basically benefit from times of feast and be able to endure times of famine. And so if we couldn't store fat and use it later, we would have perished. So what I help people do essentially is just get rewired to our original settings. And what that does is it solves a lot. It reduces hunger, it eliminates cravings, it gives us kind of boundless energy because we have this constant fuel source at our disposal. It slows aging, it makes weight loss easier, and it makes weight gain harder, which is nuts. So that's one element of what I do, which is to really kind of do a bit of a like physiological overhaul that just creates a different foundation so people's bodies function differently, um, making weight loss easier, weight gain harder, improved health, more accessible. Within that, I am all about strategy. So I wanted to talk about something really useful, really doable for anyone, regardless of where they are. And my ultimate goal is to help people see that there are these nuances that we can implement that don't feel like hardship, that don't feel labor intensive, that do help to move the needle a little bit. Because I feel like when people start to understand that, again, there's this cause and effect, oh, hormones matter so much. And if we can leverage them, the more we understand about them, the easier it is to get what we want. So my goal today was to share two things, two core concepts that I hope will feel very digestible and very usable. So the title of this topic was a little tongue in cheek: eat less, move more, often. So that suggestion and assumption is just commonplace, right? If you want to lose weight, you just need to eat less food and move more, do more exercise. How versus what? I generally believe how we do something is actually more consequential than what we're actually doing in so many instances. So, number one, eating less often. So, typically, when we are wishing to lose weight, we think we just need to restrict. We just need to potentially eat less carbohydrates, definitely eat less calories. And so, often um, the structure that is suggested frequently is, several small meals, 5 to 6 small meals, um, with less calories in them. And the biggest issue with that is the hormone insulin. So I think a lot of us have an awareness that insulin resistance is kind of on the path to having metabolic syndrome and next step diabetes. And with that comes heart disease. So I think a lot of people have the awareness about insulin can be like very problematic health wise, that maybe we have an awareness that insulin is known to store belly fat, more fat. But the other consequential piece is that insulin also interrupts our ability to use our own body fat for fuel. So insulin stores fat, insulin blocks our fat from being able to be used for our energy. So every time we eat, why it's problematic to eat frequently, period, if we want to lose weight, is because every time we eat, even if it's a salad with grilled chicken on it, our blood sugar rises. And with it, insulin comes along for that ride to shuttle that fuel to be stored and or kept in the bloodstream. But the more insulin, the more of that food is stored. So the more potentially we're eating or we have eaten higher carbohydrate diet, and or just the frequency of what we're eating, that will predispose us to have higher levels of insulin in our body more of the time. So what that does is, if we're thinking about this calories in versus calories out equation, basically we think, okay, I just eat less food overall, less calories. And because my body is this size and requires more than that, there should just be this difference in the middle. That's fat. And then I weigh less on the other side. But insulin actually messes with that equation. So, because it has to stay balanced, calories in versus calories out, when we have insulin in the picture, we can't access the energy that we need to make up the difference. So, what ends up happening is, and this is not like, we fall off a cliff day one, but this happens slowly and steadily if we keep up this approach and slash we're noticing the scale isn't moving, I'm really hungry, I'm eating nothing, I should be having big results. And essentially what can happen is, because insulin is blocking our body from using that fat to balance that equation out, the body is efficient and it's going to keep you safe. So what it does is it can slow metabolism, it can break muscle down it can lower our energy output to keep this equation balanced. So when we take insulin out of the equation, when we eat less often, when we have more of the time without insulin in our system, it's easier for the body to access our body fat for fuel, which is what we want if we're trying to lose weight. And then we don't run the risk of compromising our metabolism, compromising our muscle mass, and even being hungrier. So my advice with this is, how do we eat less often? So I would encourage everyone to think about eating 3 meals a day max. So even if it's like even if it's like, oh, I think I should be doing intermittent fasting, maybe. But really what we want to do is we want to make insulin be raised less often. So snacking is not useful for weight loss, really. So even if we're eating 3 times a day, or you're thinking, oh my God, like there's no way I could only eat this number of times. What I would encourage anyone to do if they're wishing to change their weight situation is to, at this moment, if any of this resonates, is to not even think about reducing calories, but just reducing frequency. So, what we want to do is if it feels hard to make it from breakfast to lunch or from lunch to dinner, or if we only eat twice a day, if that's a thought, ideally with a snack, all we want to do is we just want to put the food together. So instead of having a snack in between lunch and dinner, let's just put that snack within one of those meals. So you don't necessarily at the very beginning, what I'm suggesting, I know nothing, my hands are not on you yet, let's hope, is that if you know this amount of food has worked for you, just put it together, have it be less often that we are eating. And what that will do is that'll just have insulin be out of your system more of the time, enabling you to more easily use your body fat for fuel. And then the other bit is move more. And so exercise is not essential for weight loss. Exercise is useful. It can be useful for weight loss. I certainly think it's a bit of a cornerstone for like a healthy and robust body ultimately, but it's not required for weight loss. However, there's something called NEAT. And so you ladies might be familiar with this. So it's an acronym. It stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And all that means is the amount of energy that is required or created, we'll say, from movement that's not deliberate exercise. And the thing that I think is really useful to note is that this can add up to a lot. And in many respects, it could actually be more impactful than exercise alone. So this is the like, I'm folding laundry, I'm going up the stairs to put it away, I'm unloading the dishwasher. I I'm parking a little, I'm just walking into the store. I'm cleaning my home. And the thing that I want to say now that this has fully registered for me is now I just look for opportunities to move. So I'm on the phone. Let me just walk around my apartment. Let me walk while I'm on the phone. Let me do things while I am going to deliberately do a walk. And so basically, when we're looking for these opportunities, instead of thinking like, oh my God, like either, it feels like too much to get to the gym today, or I don't know how the heck I'm going to do this today, this workout that I wanted to do. In some respects, I'm going to say, don't worry about it and just move more. Like, I'm going to take 2 trips, honey, we're going to like go for a walk after dinner instead of sitting in front of the television. Like that low grade, no big deal movement is something that reliably taps into fat and again can be more significant than exercise. And the other thing I want to say regarding burning sugar versus burning fat, when we do slow, low, easy does it movement and or exercise like walking, we reliably tap into fat. And at times, there's a time and place for intensity, but the fastest way to flip or deepen a sugar burning mode is intense exercise, kind of like when not done consciously, I'll say, or in an informed way. So just know that you don't need to kill yourself to do something effective. It can be far more effective to do something just consistently that doesn't feel hard. Or just, yep, I'm taking the trash. I'll take the trash out. Like I'll let me do the things I haven't thought about doing. I feel like for me, this is really useful. It's like the stuff that I might not want to do in terms of like, oh, there's stuff in the dryer. It's like, great, let me take care of it. Because it helps the effort. And then two little like bonuses I wanted to give with this eat less, move more often. If this works in your life, it's better to eat less of our food later in the day. It's better to eat more of our food earlier in the day. So we are creatures of the sun. Our metabolism is absolutely impacted by light and by the sun. And so essentially, the earlier you can have more of your food, some say like, when the sun is highest, 12 to 2. Personally, I think as long as the sun is up, the earlier the better. So that adage, like eat like a king in the morning, a prince in the afternoon and a pauper at night, is actually really useful. And essentially, to double down on this is a little opposite of how our culture tends to run regarding we tend to come together over dinner. We tend to socialize around the dinner table. But if it works, if you can, just know this is like a drop in the bucket and the positive. If it works for you, it's great to eat before the sun goes down. And so this time of the year, this is great to take advantage of. I made a podcast, like the best time to lose weight. And it's like, there is a time and it would be the summer. And it's because of light. So when the sun goes down, hormones change. So melatonin, I think we're familiar with that, like sleep aid hormone, starts to get released. And basically, like we're meant to be alert and awake and mobile during the day, and we're meant to be more sedentary and sleeping when the sun is down. So our physiology reflects that. So when the sun goes down, melatonin starts to rise to get us ready for bed at some point. Melatonin creates an insulin resistant environment. So an insulin resistant environment means that we require more insulin for the same job. And like we talked about a little while ago, the more insulin we have, the more fat we store of our food. The more of our food we store as fat, however that's best said. And the longer it takes for insulin to get out of our system for us to be accessing our body fat once again. So by just like, I'm going to eat at 12 versus I'm going to eat at 8, or I'm going to eat at 3 or 5 because the sun is up versus I'm going to eat at 8 p.m. at night, impacts your weight. So once again, I recognize that, we socialize at night generally. We tend to eat together at night. But if you can work it where you eat more of your food earlier in the day / not eat when the sun is down, you will just help your waistline. And even if it's like, I do this 1 day a week, I do this 3 days a week, great. It matters. And then the other thing I want to say regarding moving more, I'm going to encourage you to move more at night. And once again, this is this utilization of blood sugar. It's helping to help your body be more insulin sensitive and have lower levels of insulin for when you go to bed. And a reason why it's very useful to have a gap between when you stop eating and when you go to bed is, once again, to have insulin out of your system, because when we sleep is our greatest time of releasing human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is considered our fountain of youth. It regenerates our tissues. It helps with weight loss. It helps with healthy testosterone levels. And there's a few different ways that human growth hormone gets released or that we can support it. I have a podcast about that, should anyone wish. But sleeping, deep sleep, we need to be in REM sleep for it to be released. So insulin inhibits human growth hormone. So if we go to bed with our belly full, our body full of insulin, we don't get the opportunity to release human growth hormone, which is great for health, which is great for other hormones, which is great for weight loss. So just these little things, it's like you could eat the same exact thing, but let's condense it into fewer meals and let's eat it earlier in the day. And if it works for you to make a point to, like, you know what, I'm going to take the stairs versus the elevator. I'm going to park a little further from the entrance. I'm going to make 2 trips up to my second floor to put my laundry away. I'm just going to deliberately be a little more active and potentially slash I'm going to deliberately move later in the day. Me and my honey, we're going to go for a walk later, after dinner, later in the day. All of that will just shift your hormones really to a more advantageous position for weight loss. So eating like a sugar burner means you simply are hungry often, and then you're often craving sweet or starchy carbs. So as a sugar burner, it's like crazy. What, I'm going to eat once a day? Like, you've got to be out of your mind. Like, I would die.
That's what I'm thinking.
Which is reasonable because
Yeah.
basically sugar or carbohydrates don't last very long. And
Mm.
so, like sugar burners, a great analogy is to think about like a tankard truck, like one that carries gasoline. So we've got this big, whatever it is, however many wheels on these things, 18, 16 wheeler, whatever it is. And so essentially the truck has its own fuel tank, right? Its own fuel reservoir. And then it's carrying thousands of gallons of gasoline. So a really good illustration of someone who's relying on sugar versus who's able to tap into their own body fat is like this truck. So this truck has to work off of this tiny reservoir of fuel. It can't go very far before it needs to refill. So sugar burners can't go very long before they need to eat something again. But
Right.
fat burners have access to this massive vat of fuel, so we can just go for longer because we have access. So sugar burners just tend to be hungry often, need more
Mhm.
carbohydrates, have energetic crashes, feel
That's
like
me.
lightheaded
That's
when they get
me.
hungry. What are you saying,
So do
Anne?
you have suggestions of things that you eat that fill you up and keep you full?
Oh, sure. So bang for your buck foods. I think so in general, and I guess I'm making the encouragement to have like at max, like 3 meals, like that's, 3 square meals. And so I would always encourage people whenever you eat to think about having an element of a complete meal. So that means having protein and fat, carbohydrates, and like it would be amazing if there was some fiber in there. Um, and so when you have that, first of all, that will help you to get full and stay full versus like, I'm just going to have a peach. And it's like, well, that's good for about like 50 minutes. And then you're going to need something else. So I would think about that first. And then, like, I would say one of my like number one, like, you want to get full fast and stay that way, like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, those are such winners. Um, what else is amazing? And then I would think more about combinations of things. But regarding carbohydrates, like great bang for your buck carbohydrates, my number one is sweet potatoes. And then like second tier is like any other type of potato. Um, I think those are such winners. Like, you do not need to eat a ton um to be full, to get full, stay full. Um, but I would say like leaner meat, fibrous vegetables. So, um, chicken tenderloins, that's my number one regarding protein. Those are so easy to make. They're lower in calories, higher in protein than chicken breasts, but somehow they're more tender and delicious. Lean ground meat, not crazy lean because it tastes like cardboard, but like 93%, somewhere around there, ground beef, ground turkey, and then fibrous vegetables, cabbage, freaking love, broccoli, cauliflower. Uh, but I would say, so again, a sugar burner, you're just going to need more carbohydrates, and that's fine. But potatoes are better than pasta or better than rice. Um, but anyway, and then Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are just such winners because of the type of protein that is in them. And so, just to be nerdy and more thorough than needed, so milk products are made up of whey and casein protein, and Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are predominantly casein based. And whey is a fast digesting protein, and casein is a slow digesting protein, which is why it helps us to stay full.
What about eggs?
Eggs, I could take them or leave them. I think that I what I understand is that you actually get more. So there's like we can eat any number of things that contain protein, but how much protein is actually assimilated varies. And apparently, eggs are like number one. So it's like we get almost all of the protein that we consume in an egg. But in my opinion, I don't find eggs very filling.
Mm.
Um, so to me, like I'll bake with them, like I'll put them in things, but I don't think they're a good bang for your buck food. I don't think they're very filling.
How about fats? Like you name some things for others. What are the fats that you would suggest?
Filling fats, I love olives. Those like those are fantastic as far as I'm concerned. I think avocado is really great. Um, but nuts, butter, that's like I measure that, but I love it. Like I think peanut butter personally is so satisfying. And so sometimes this can be useful in terms of like evaluating the fat percentage of the protein that you're eating. So my encouragement is to really just take notice, like how this thing makes you feel. So if you're like this, I'm going to eat this lean thing, and it was like that wasn't really satisfying. I'm finding I want more, like I want something else. um, that's not potentially as useful if you had something that had a slightly higher fat percentage that felt so satisfying and kept you full. So I think that's a really good lens to look at things through. It's like, oh, I'll have egg whites up the wazoo for this thing to make it high in protein and low in calorie. But it's like, did that actually get you full and keep you full? Did you need to eat more food? It's like, if so, it's not so useful.
And can you repeat? I'm so sorry. The whey and the whatever. What did you
Yep.
say about that again?
Yep, absolutely. So milk, the two proteins that milk is made up of is whey and casein.
Taste.
Caesin. And so whey is the most talked about. Ooh, it's fast digesting. Like, great. However, casein is slower digesting. And so what that equals is a more filling experience and one that sticks around for longer.
And so the yogurt and cottage cheese are the casein ones that are digested slower, so you feel fuller. Okay.
Yep. So the Greek yogurt and the cottage cheese. And those I would just say like, so I said the thing about fat, but in general, I would always aim to start on the lower end of the spectrum. So it's like if you have the opportunity to get low fat, or honestly with dairy products, no fat, and they taste good to you, it's just, it's still creamy, it's still rich, it's still delicious. If that works and you kind of note like again how satisfied you felt, how long it lasted, and if it was like that worked, great, you're going to have more protein and less calories for the same serving size. So I would just always encourage people to start low and then adjust if it didn't really hit the mark for you.
Okay.
And I like to zhuzh up both of those things. I have always have both of those things
Mm,
in my fridge, but I love like just the everything bagel seasoning on the cottage
yum,
cheese with a little Dijon mustard. Like I think that
yum,
really does something magic to the cottage cheese. So
yum.
then I eat the nuts and the frozen Bing cherries I love on that's
Ooh,
sugar hit on the yogurt. So that's kind of my two go-tos lately. And I feel like I've been feeling better about those, feeling more satiated longer, I would say.
awesome.
Yeah. I've been trying to cut back on the sugars. Michaela's always encouraging me to do that because I'm certainly a sugar lover. But the more I'm eating some of these, what I'll call sour things, the more I'm loving them. That's the
Hmm.
crazy thing. I'm not desiring the sugar as much. And you may have seen my post about the coconut cult
Oh,
yesterday,
yeah.
which is a brand new thing that I'm trying, which y'all might want to explore too. I don't know, Michaela, if you know that it's more of the probiotic hit, but
Mm.
it's literally just coconut meat, coconut cream, and coconut water
Hmm.
with about 20 cultures of probiotic, and you take one spoonful a day. So it's supposed to help with the bloating and get your probiotic dose. So exploring that, and it fits along the lines of what you suggest is healthy as well. Heather, I think you had a question I want to make sure you get to talk to.
Thanks, Joey. Yeah, so I love peanut butter too, Michaela, but I know that like I eat Peter Pan peanut butter. That's what I eat, but I know it's loaded with sugar. So is there a peanut butter that she recommends, like the natural ones you have to stir up? Is that the one that I should be eating?
I mean, I will say this. So I think not having sugar in it sounds better. And actually, I think the Peter Pan has like seed oils in it. So that's better to step away from. Um, but uh I there are organic peanut butters, and that's probably the best thing to do. I don't eat an organic brand. So I love Teddy Bear. So it is, or Teddy, maybe is actually what the name is. So it is just peanuts, but it's not organic. And so really organic peanut butter would be like the best, just because peanuts are kind of like, I would say, the most kind of compromised. Like there's a lot of pesticides, like they've been pretty tampered with, which is why a lot of children have allergies to them. In truth, I will say this, like nuts are high in omega 6s, which is like they're inflammatory. Like they're not, like we want omega 3s. So that's like cold water fish, it's like flaxseed oil. But so I would just like, I'm a big fan of like trying to how we do what we're doing. So it's like, if I'm in an agreement. Like I feel like I'm very well informed about certain things and not about other things. And so I do believe that like almond butter or pistachio butter or cashew butter, like I would believe that it's better for us. I do also believe that organic peanut butter is better than conventional. I do also think that straight up peanuts is better than one that has sugar or seed oils in it. But and then size matters. So I eat peanut butter every day, but I measure it. So it's like and this killed me. I'll just say this is like, I would like go up like my ass a mile. Like I'm gonna like measure 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And it was like, apparently I am, because otherwise I'm eating half of the jar. And so like if you put it, you could, if you measure fat, I would measure fat. Like if it's like, I hate to count calories, great. Don't worry about it. Measure your fats. And so at the very least, but if you put 2 tablespoons of peanut butter or nut butter over something, like Joey talked about her like yogurt goodness, like something that has a base with a bit more bulk. And then you put that like sexy, fatty, sweet, like crunchy, whatever it is on top of it, and you kind of like spread it out. It's just easier to have a very modest or reasonable portion, not feel like deprivation.
Yeah, I've been using the PB2 peanut butter
Yeah.
protein powder to substitute my peanut butter in my smoothies and that kind of stuff too. You can sprinkle it on yogurt, you can sprinkle it in you put it in Cool Whip and mix it up and put it in the freezer, it makes these cool little, like,
Nice.
little treats. Yeah. So
Nice.
I've been doing that too.
Really, really good. Heather, you could even thin your peanut butter out with the PB2,
Oh,
just to like give yourself more volume.
yeah.
I think
That's
that's
a
a great
great
move.
suggestion. Michaela, talk to us a little bit if you have the knowledge. It's sort of new on my radar and it's along the same line. The MCT, right, that you are a proponent of with the bulletproof coffee and things in the morning. I am seeing it now in a lot of these mushroom-based products. So this whole trend of the mushroom teas, I don't know if you have explored any of that.
Not really. So every once in a while, there are fat burners that don't drink coffee. And they'll say, can I use this instead? And so I'll just say, so the substance that Joey's talking about, bulletproof coffee, this is something that I kind of help fat burners get to the place where they're not hungry in the morning. And then we start to use this substance to help with intermittent fasting. So the two things that I'll say about the bulletproof coffee and maybe one thing that the mushroom coffee is replacing is that, so coffee on its own, so when I work with people, we take coffee away at first and then we bring it back. And so most people that drink coffee that like need their coffee in the morning are addicted to some degree. And why that's not helpful for weight loss is because when we are addicted to caffeine, it reinforces a sugar burning mode. That means that we have elevated levels of cortisol and potentially adrenaline, which are stress hormones, sugar burning hormones. So cortisol, again, deeper dive than maybe we need. Cortisol and adrenaline are meant to raise blood sugar. So they're meant to help us with fight or flight. That's the point of stress, is to help us to respond to danger. And with it, we typically need to defend ourselves. We need to run away. So we need access to energy. So if we're hopped up on more cortisol and adrenaline just because of our morning beverage, it keeps our blood sugar higher. That impacts insulin, impacts weight storage, fat storage. It increases hunger as well. So we get people unaddicted and then we bring it back for kind of the best purposes of coffee, which are to increase our metabolism. Coffee under a certain threshold actually has positive benefits for the gut. It actually has like polyphenols in it, like a certain type of antioxidant. Coffee or caffeine can also help to like mobilize fat from cells to be used as fuel. It can help with focus. So it can be a really great tool. And then it can also be a delicious vehicle. It's an appetite suppressant as well. So once we're unaddicted, we can use it, and we add a particular type of MCT oil. So MCT, the acronym stands for medium chain triglycerides. And all that means is medium is the length, chain is the shape, and triglyceride is what we're talking about. So it's a molecule of fat. And so there are small chain, medium chain, long chain. And basically they have different functions. They all have different names and they have different numbers based on the number of carbon atoms that they are made up of. So MCT has 3. It's like C4, C6, C8. So when you buy an MCT oil, you could have a whole variety of medium and actually long chain. So why we want medium, I hope this is so interesting. Small chain break down faster. So the faster it breaks down, the less likely it is to be stored as fat. The quicker you get to make energy from this. That's awesome. It seems like the shorter chain stuff can like give us diarrhea and they don't taste that great. Okay, great. The long chain take longer to break down. There's a possibility of it being stored as fat. This is like a rough sketch. Within the medium chain, there's one that's like the golden child. So this is C8. So Brain Octane Oil is a brand that we use. And the reason why, C8 converts to energy really quickly. It is great food for the brain. So if you're stressed, under-rested, hungover, depleted in any form or fashion, when the brain wants energy, it tends to like make us reach for sugar. So that can be a really good use depending on your lifestyle. It's good food for the liver. It helps reinforce a fat burning mode, and it gives us more wiggle room with carbohydrates to stay in it. So C8, it's like odorless, flavorless. And when you blend it with coffee or something else, it creates, certainly with coffee, this almost like cappuccino-like consistency. It's totally delicious. I add cinnamon and sometimes monk fruit to my coffee. But anyway, so that's why we use coffee and that MCT oil. But regarding the mushroom, so if there's MCT oil in it, it's an appetite suppressant as well. So coffee is an appetite suppressant, and this MCT oil gives us energy. It's like instant energy. Consider that exogenous ketones, like it's fat that we can use instantly for energy. So for the mushroom coffee, I have no idea, but I do believe that mushrooms have medicinal benefits. I'm not the authority on them at all. And then if they're putting MCT oil in it, I would inspect which strain, because C8 is undeniably the best. I will say that. That's my opinion. And then but that MCT oil, basically it'll help you with the process of intermittent fasting. It'll help you to feel, it'll give you energy without raising your blood sugar and raising insulin, which is what we don't want to do. So our goal is to eat less and move more often. And so what that can look like is essentially think about condensing your meals. Let's not snack. Even if we're eating 3 times a day max, that would be great. So we just want to condense what we're eating into 3 times a day or less. And the reason why we want to do that is because that will keep insulin levels lower. And the reason why we want to do that is because the more insulin is in our system, the more of our food we will store as fat. And the more insulin is in our system, the longer it will take for us to be able to use our own body fat for fuel. So to get insulin lowered and or out of our system, we want to eat our food less often. It can still be the same exact amount, same exact configuration, just less frequently. Moving more often, a reason why we want to do that is simply because that NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, adds up to a lot. So potentially even more than deliberate exercise. So if you can deliberately make a point to take the long way into your house, park a little further from the entrance, go for a walk, I pace, honestly, when I'm on the phone. And that movement can add up to a lot energy expenditure wise in a way that doesn't feel hard and is almost not noticeable. And then my little bonus for both of these things is to think about, if possible, it's better to eat less of our food later in the day and to eat more of our food earlier in the day. And that's because of the sun. We are more metabolically active earlier in the day. We have a more compromised system later in the day with melatonin and insulin. So ideally, even if you have dinner with your family at night, I would encourage you to have more of your calories earlier in the day. And then lastly, to move more, it would actually be better to do more of that later in the day. And that kind of cleans up blood sugar, helps us to be more insulin sensitive, and gives us a better setup for sleep, so that we can have a better hormonal setup for human growth hormone, and even our thyroid gland.